Ustad, Jazakallah khairan.
Jazakallah khairan. Barakallah feek, Zakaria.
So, Birrul Walidain, we understand its importance and the weight it has in our religion. But subhanAllah, we have many brothers who are trying to get married, and parents tend to refuse, not for the fact that perhaps this sister isn't righteous or is not even from the same country. On top of that, maybe she is from the same tribe, but she's not from the same sub-tribe. And in this day and age, some will say, it's quite difficult trying to find a righteous sister, trying to find a righteous brother to get married to. And when you find that right person that you think is right for you, parents tend to refuse for such reasons. How can we reconcile? We want to be dutiful to our parents, we want to be respectful to our parents, but at the same time, I have a need.
First of all, Jazakallah khairan, Zakaria. It's always a pleasure to sit with you. MashaAllah. May Allah honor you for dunya wal akhirah. You're right, this question comes up so often. People ask this question very, very often. And you're right, it's a mushkila, it's a problem. And you don't find it only in one particular community. You will find it in just about every community. This issue keeps coming up again and again and again.
Yep.
The reality of the matter is we have to look at, is the state of that individual wants to get married, is it a state of darura, necessity?
Okay.
Or is it just, he wants to just get married, really there's no necessity for it. So that's the number one.
Okay.
You want to get married, so we have to look at Zakaria, is he in a state of darura, necessity, where it's dangerous right now if he doesn't get married? It's serious. That's one. And number two, the second thing that we have to look at is, what is the explanation and the reason that the parent is putting forward?
Okay.
So before I mention those two, I have to mention, and it's very important for me to mention, the importance of obeying your parents.
Please.
Umuman, parents, birrul walidain is very important in our religion. And you tend to find in the Quran Allah mentioning subhanahu wa ta'ala his rights, and then right after it the rights of the parents.
Of course.
وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. And in many verses. وَاعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا أَنِ اشْكُرْ لِي وَلِوَالِدَيْكَ إِلَيَّ الْمَصِيرُ. Those verses I'm mentioning, Allah is mentioning his rights, and then right after that Allah is mentioning the rights of the parents.
And that shows
how, the status of the parents, how high it is. And even the famous hadith of the Prophet ﷺ when he was asked, أَيُّ الْعَمَلِ أَحَبُّ إِلَى اللَّهِ, and what's the most beloved action to Allah? And the Prophet, he said, الصَّلَاةُ عَلَى مِيقَاتِهَا. Some of the wordings say مِيقَاتِهَا. Some say, الصَّلَاةُ عَلَى وَقْتِهَا. And then the companion said, ثُمَّ أَيْ, what about after that? And then the Prophet, he said, بِرُّ الْوَالِدَيْنِ. So the prayer is the right of who? Allah.
Correct.
And then right after that, rights of Allah is mentioned what? The parents. So those evidence, and the reason I mentioned it is because the position they hold is very, very high. It's not a light matter.
Correct.
But also marriage is also a big thing in our religion.
Of course.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, وَلَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا رُسُلًا مِنْ قَبْلِكَ وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُمْ أَزْوَاجًا وَذُرِّيَّةً. That Muhammad we sent, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, before you messengers and prophets, and we made families for them. So marriage is a natural thing. And if you think about it, subhanAllah, sometimes I really ponder and contemplate on this point. Like Adam is in Jannah, alayhi salam, a prophet of Allah. He's in Jannah. He's the father of all of us.
Correct.
Nabiullah Adam is in Jannah, the greatest place. ما لا عين رأت ولا أذن سمعت ولا خطر على قلب بشر. A place eyes have never seen, ears have never heard of. It's like, and has never come to the mind of a person. He's in that place, the place we're wishing to all be in, right? And he gets a wife. And the blessing is not complete unless you get that wife. And that's what Allah said in the verse, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُم مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. And this is talking to Adam. وَمِنْ آيَاتِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم. That's Adam, by the way. That Allah is saying, I created for you, Adam, number one, and all of the children of Adam is the same here. We created for you and we made for you لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا, so that you can find tranquility. So you're right. If you don't get married, you're going to struggle. The tranquility goes. So the parents, they have a status. And marriage is important in our religion.
No doubt.
So if your marriage is now at a station of, or status of darura, necessity, like it goes up and it's a necessity, it's like if you don't get married, we're worried for you, or something might happen, or you might do something that is not permissible, then in that state, you are allowed to disobey your parents. You can go and get married.
Right.
Because of the famous hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, لا طاعة لمخلوق في معصية الخالق. Also, the parent.
How does that show it's a sin?
Because your parents, to watch you go and commit zina, for example, or boyfriend and girlfriend relationship, or make you, push you, or to do haram. Because when they don't let you get married, that's what they're pushing you to, right? So you can go and get married.
But for most, I mean, let's not say most people, but for some people, that's not really the case. Perhaps maybe they can control themselves. It is dire for them to get married, but zina is just something too big, In that case, do they still disobey their parents?
Well, to be honest, I might differ with you and disagree, because I tend to see a lot of youngsters and youth, they go to college and university, and look, the non-Muslims in school, they don't have this ethics that we have, with the akhlaq that we Muslims have, and boundaries that Allah has set for us, subhanahu wa ta'ala. They don't have that. So they, secondary school, they're boyfriend, girlfriend, and then after college, girlfriend and boyfriend, and then university, girlfriend and boyfriend. And then you find them maybe once they've reached a certain age, they start thinking about whether they want to get married or not.
Right.
Like in Amina here, or Fatima here, or Khalid here, or Zayd here, or Amr here, they can't have that haram relationship. Right. And there is that burning desire in them. So for the parents to say, especially in Western countries where the women dressing provocatively, the accessibility of haram right now, and how it's so accessible, and it's different to how it was at the time of the Sahabas, of course.
Yes.
And it's definitely historically now the availability of the opposite genders' physique and looking and seeing them is far worse and more than it was before.
Yeah, especially with the access of these
internet and all of that. Yeah, no doubt.
Right.
So the law is definitely there for sure. Also, parents have to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And just because Allah has given you this power and Allah has put this in your hand, you don't have the right to abuse it. Responsibility and power comes a level of dignity and honor that you have to respect.
Right.
So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put this power in your hand, and that your child has to obey you and listen to you, you're not allowed to abuse it and say to the child, you can't marry this person, especially if the person comes with religion. And they brought somebody who's got religion. إِذَا جَاءَكُم مَنْ تَرْضَوْنَ دِينَهُ وَخُلُقَهُ فَزَوِّجُوهُ فَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلُوا تَكُنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ فِتْنَةٌ وَفَسَادٌ عَرِيضٌ. The Prophet, he said.
Right.
I mean, there is a difference of opinion on the authenticity of the hadith. But if somebody of religion comes and you don't get married, there's going to be a lot of fitna that comes from it. Akhi, Zakaria, and I know I'm talking too long, but sometimes it's not even the fitna for the brother. But it's the sister as well. That she found a brother who's practicing.
Right.
And now your parent, mathalan, or this brother's parents are saying no. And this sister, she's found a good practicing brother, and the number of practicing brothers are very little. So again, it's a problem for the sister as well. The fitna that comes to her as well. And sometimes, akhi, you're going to be opening the door for them to do haram. If they've come to you in a halal way and said, we want to get married, and you close that door, what are you pushing them to? You're going to push them to go and do haram. And there's a lot of cases where these situations have become like that. So yes, definitely, if the parent has not got a legal, justifiable reason, and it is for no reason, if it's a man, definitely he can go get married. And if there's a necessity as well, if there's a necessity as well on top of that, you can go and get married. And this is the fatwa of the giants of Islam and ulama of Islam. This is the fatwa that they give. Even the girl, subhanallah. I mean, I don't want to make it easier now. I don't want people to take my word out of context. But even a woman, if she wants to get married, and her father is not given a justifiable reason, and the girl's in a state of darura, and the necessity is there, and the father is just, I don't like him. His skin color, I don't like him, or that country he's from, or this and that, then that girl, the wilaya will leave the father once the qadi gets involved. Of course, there's a process. It just doesn't it doesn't just easily get out of the father's hand like that.
Right.
But at one point, the father's going to lose the wilaya, and the girl's going to get married without his permission, without his wilaya. So it's a serious matter. It's not a joke, this issue, and it's not a light matter.
For that particular reason, where it's just there's no valid reason why they're refusing. So in that case, can we say in all scenarios, because that's most of the scenarios in a lot of communities, so can we say regardless, the sister can just go and get married? So
it gets tricky here, Zakaria, sometimes, certain situations when I look into it, because I've seen a lot of cases, it gets tricky. The girl or the boy would say, for example, my father and mother haven't got a valid reason. So the imam calls the father and the mother and realizes, no, there is actually a lot of valid points that the parents have, that they've brought to the table. So that's important to mention, or to point out, that a lot of people pretend or might think or assume that their mother and father have no reason.
Right.
But the father and mother have a lot of good reasons that they bring to the table that are legally binding in Islam, and that the child has to follow through with.
So now we mentioned like reasons why you can disobey. So now we're slowly moving into when you can't disobey the parents, right?
Yeah.
So can you just elaborate a bit more on like
So, for example, the parents might say no to the child that you can't marry this particular person because of they feel that this person is not truthful. For example,
Okay.
the parent has seen this person, or they feel like this person is yes, practicing,
Right.
has religion,
Okay.
but is not a compatible for their daughter, for example.
Okay.
Because مثلا, if you've educated your daughter to the religion to an extent and you've nurtured her to that extent, then somebody just started practicing yesterday who still has jahiliyyah connected to him. Some of the fuqaha and some of the jurists, they mention that these people might not be kufr, they might not be compatible to each other.
Right.
So these things parents will look at. And a lot of the times, I'll be honest with you, is that parents have insight. There are some parents who genuinely just don't want to lose their child. It's just they've got attachment issues.
Okay.
They're just obsessed with this son. They love him. So the mother somehow just doesn't want to see her son ever get married. Some mothers are like that, actually. And there are some fathers like that. They love this daughter. She's everything for them. Their family rely on her, and etc. And just they don't want to see her go and get married. So there is cases like that.
Right.
And that's when I mentioned that the qadi will take power for that girl. And that brother can just go and get married, even if his parents are against it like that. Lakin there are situations where, by the way, the brother, his marriage will always be valid if he gets
regardless.
If he disobeys his parents and he gets married, his marriage is always valid. But
it's about whether he gets sin or not.
Yeah, is he sinning for disobeying his parents? That is based on the issue of is there a necessity? Also, if the parents are not bringing a valid reason to the table for why they are not allowing you to get married to this person. But coming back to the point again, which is parents sometimes have reasons, and the children are the ones who don't see the reason of the parents. For method, and they're obsessed with the person. Yeah. They love them. They're blinded, and so they can't see it.
In this point of compatibility, where the parents think, okay, they understand who's compatible for you, a lot of it seems to stem from culture. They say, for instance, let's say I'm a Somali brother and I want to get married to a Chinese sister, for instance. They'll say that won't work out. You guys will get divorced and whatnot. But rather, if you would get married to a Somali sister, then your chances of you guys having a successful marriage would be higher. So could you just elaborate on that, and whether, you marrying someone from the same culture, does it actually have weight in terms of getting a successful marriage?
Again, this is my personal opinion.
All right.
It's not a religious opinion. It's my personal opinion. I do see some validity to what those parents are saying, but I also don't agree to it from another perspective.
Okay.
Back home, yes. The people who live back home, tribe was very important. The ethnicity of the person was very important because of the country you're in.
All right.
But now that we're living in the West, it's very hard for me to understand why it really matters the tribe of the person that you're marrying. Because tribe is to protect, it's to recognize, and etc. Why does it really matter in London? Who cares if the tribe of that person is this or the tribe of the person is that? Why does it really matter? What does it do in this land? And that's my personal opinion. Cultural differences, again, this is my opinion. Cultural differences, they have more of a validity on the parent side, because parents, a lot of the time, they want to connect with their grandchildren.
Okay. So
they're talking it from a selfish perspective sometimes, that they want to connect with the child. They want to see this child. He's my grandson or granddaughter.
Right.
Language barrier. That's one reason that they might bring to the table. Again, these are not valid reasons for them to stop you from getting married.
But this issue with language barrier, for instance, now you have...
Especially if you want to marry a Chinese sister. So yeah, that's definitely a language barrier.
Okay. Well, this language barrier, the way I see it is, you find a lot of people who have migrated to the Western lands and both parents were from the same country, for instance. And they raised a child in a Western land and they don't know the culture nor the language. So if you're talking about connecting, you've already lost them in the first generation. So why does it matter? Do you get what I mean?
It makes a lot of sense. Because now these children they are Somali biologically, but the way they think, the way that they are, their personality, their character, and their thinking process, definitely it's a Western way of thinking, different to that which Somalis back home think like. But again, parents, for them, it's at times it's from a selfish perspective. As I said, they're
Yes.
looking out for their own connection with that children. Mothers also are thinking about, if you're marrying a Chinese now, your mother's going to think, how am I going to talk to his wife if she's not speaking Somali? What do I say? So then you're placing a hajib, you're placing a barrier between me and your wife. So sometimes it comes from that selfish perspective. Also, Western people have now become a culture themselves. And what I mean by that is the Somalian who is raised in the UK, and the Pakistani who's raised in the UK, and the Jamaican who's raised in the UK, and the Nigerian who's raised in the UK have become more familiar with each other, know each other, understand each other more than the Nigerian back home for the Nigerian, and the Somali for the Somali back home,
Right.
and the Chinese for the Chinese back home, and etc.
Yeah.
The Pakistani for the Pakistani back home. Yani I can relate more to the Pakistani in London or in the UK or from a Western country than I can relate to a Somali back home. Well, halumma jarra, yani. So the idea that culture, again, it's a question. It can be debated.
Would you equate? Let's say I'm a Somali brother. Would you equate a Somali brother in the UK, for instance, marrying a Somali sister in the UK and a Pakistani sister in the UK?
Which one you're going to be more closer to?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely you're going to be more closer to the Somali, much more closer than you are going to be to a Pakistani, for sure. That's there. But you would be more closer to the Pakistani from London than you are from the Somali, the Pakistani from London and Somali from Somalia.
Yeah.
That lives back home.
Of course.
But also these points, I think they're subjective. There could be a Pakistani sister
Okay.
that you can relate to more than if you were to marry, مثلا, any Somali sister, مثلا. So it's not a blanket statement. We can just give an answer like that. It differs from person to person. That's why the ulama, they never connect culture, marry from this culture, marry from that culture.
Yeah.
Aslan, it didn't exist.
Yeah, the reason I mentioned that is because I came across a lot of brothers
Mm-hmm.
In the UK who would marry within their culture
Mm-hmm.
and then end up divorcing
Mm-hmm.
and then marry outside their culture. And whenever I would just discuss with them, they would always talk about how they resonate with now the sister that's outside the culture. And a lot of the times they would mention how the sister that I married, who's from the same culture as I am, she was, because of social media now, influence and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So in that particular scenario, I'm just thinking now, it's just like you said, it's not a blanket statement, but at the same time, I'm thinking it's not really a difference. What are your thoughts on that?
You're right. I've seen cases and situations where brothers have divorced their own cousins who were suggested to them by their parents, and it destroyed the whole entire family because they were very close. And I've also, and the marriage didn't work out. And I've seen people marry different cultures from different places. A Somali brother marrying a Jamaican sister, or marrying a Pakistani sister, or a Pakistani sister marrying a Somali. I've seen it, and the marriage works. So these things that it's hard to really pinpoint, or give a general answer like that,
right,
a sweeping answer like that. I think it's very hard to say.
Of course.
And that's why it's very important to find someone who's compatible, someone who really sees things the way that you see it, has the same ambitions in life with the way that you do. Religious, you're intact. The tadayyun of that girl's her religion and your religion, it's same or similar, or you're close to each other. You're encouraging one another. The akhlaq and the adab, the background and how you guys grew up together, and you grew up. It doesn't have to be culture. You might have had a strict religious upbringing, and she has a strict religious upbringing. So you come together, you both realize that's what we want to do for our children, etc. And kufu, Sheikh, is very important. Scholars, they talk about this. Compatibility is very, very important. That's why you find a sister who's grown up from a royal house, akhi. She's rich. She's had a father who has been giving her as pocket money, £1,000 a day.
Right.
And now you, miskin brother, want to get married to her now, and you just have what, 1,000 a month, and you're like, we're gonna break this bread together, and it's gonna be very hard for her to live with you, and she can't. That's not the lifestyle she can live, and that brother is gonna struggle with that sister because he is saying, what's she doing? What does she want from me? Why is she doing this to me?
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important. Compatibility is, I think, it's.
So vital. Then how can I say I do meet a sister for marriage and deen and khuluq is there. Compatibility, how?
So you look at the family, the background of the girl.
Okay.
You look at her family, her sisters, if she's got elder sisters that have been married. You're understanding from there what kind of what you're going to expect from her.
Okay, but that doesn't give you the full picture.
No, of course. There
Okay.
can always be she can always be different to her siblings, and she can be different to her mother, and it can be. But there you still use that. يعني when the fuqaha talk about تزوجوا الولود الودود فإني مكاثر بكم الأمم يوم القيامة. يعني marry the woman who's what? الودود. الودود means she makes it part of her effort. She strives to make her husband love her.
Right.
So marry that woman, the Prophet said. And then he said, Al-Waluda, the woman who has a lot of kids, who can have a lot of kids, wants to have a lot of kids. Now, how do you know that this girl can have a lot of kids? They say, look at the parents.
So,
look at her family. So from her mum, you realize, okay, Allahumma barik, mashallah, she's got a football team, or she's got a lot of kids, mashallah. So good thing. This is highly recommended that you have a lot of children. So you now realize she's from a big family. Her mum's like that. And she's going to, inshallah ta'ala, she sees this to be normal.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing is when it comes to compatibility.
Right.
How do you know this girl's compatible to you? Of course, discussions. This is why you get the chance to come to the house. The father lets you sit in the living room, talk to his daughter in an open place where you can talk privately, but the door's opened. The glass window could be seen that you're sitting there, both of you. No one's listening to your conversation with her.
Mm-hmm.
And you ask all the questions that you have, all the concerns, everything that you need. You ask and gives you an understanding of, is she compatible to me?
Right.
And these steps, wallahi, Zakaria, if you don't take them at the beginning and you don't look at and check and do istikhara and go back again and ask these questions and hear the answers that have been given to you, looking at the family structure, asking her scenarios, what would you do in this situation? What would you do in that situation? That all is not made clear and it's not understood, and you're both not together on that, then that's going to come out later in the marriage.
That makes a lot of sense. Barakallah feek. So these are the things that we need to focus on in the marriage period. So what would you say are some mistakes that brothers or sisters fall short in, rather than focusing on compatibility and akhlaq and deen? They would rather emphasize on other things. What are some of these mistakes that you've seen?
So a lot of the times what tends to happen, is that the brother is blindsided by method and the girl's appearance and the way she looks. So what that tends to do is, and we're weak as human beings, and what sips into the heart is what the eyes see.
Right.
So you walk into a house and you see the girl and your mind boggled, gobsmacked, you're lost of words. You sit down, now whatever she's saying and whatever conversation that you guys are having, and you're not even listening. You're like, this is going to be the wife I marry.
You've already married her.
You're already married her, yeah. You're already married. You're thinking about the dowry. I'll give her whatever she wants. Yeah. Whatever hall she wants me to marry her in, I'm going to do it. You're already signing any contracts that's put in front of you. Now that's a problem, because now what you've done is you've only focused on one of the four things that the Prophet mentioned. تُنْكَحُ الْمَرْأَةُ لِأَرْبَعٍ. A woman is married for one of four reasons. لِمَالِهَا وَلِجَمَالِهَا وَلِدِينِهَا وَلِحَسَبِهَا وَلِدِينِهَا فَرَّ بِذَاتِ دِينِ تَرِبَتْ يَدَاكَ, the Prophet said. So yeah, definitely, one of the four is beauty, a woman's wealth, lineage, and her religion. And definitely, of course, marry the woman because you're attracted to her. And the opposite is true. The woman marries a guy she's attracted to.
Right.
But that shouldn't blind you from the rest.
So
I need to look at the rest. Like, I need to look at what is her religion like. And I need to focus on that. Do you understand?
Yes.
If you're not doing that, and you're not looking at her akhlaq, and you're not looking at her religion, and you're just blinded by her looks, then later you're going to regret it. Because what's going to happen is you're going to get married, and then you're married for a while, and then as a human being, even the way what you saw as beauty yesterday, you might not see it to be beauty today. So you lose interest in that woman that you chose because of beauty, and now she feels like you don't want her anymore. But all the akhlaq and everything is not. And the opposite is true. I don't want to just bash the sisters or just point my fingers at the sisters. The brother's side as well. The sister marries the brother because of how he looks, and that he's in the gym. He does i'tikaf in the gym. She's marrying him for that, and so he comes in and he's mashallah, Allahumma barik. He looks this way, and she sees him, and that's it. She's happy. I'm getting married. He's 6'6". Yeah, he is this. his strength is this and this and that. So she's already given in. Whatever he's saying to her, whatever disrespect he might throw at her, it's because of how he looks.
Right.
So these things are one of the reasons why later it comes up. These problems, the things that weren't addressed is now being addressed. So the Sheikh or the Imam looks at the two and says, these things, weren't they not addressed before you got married?
Right.
Why didn't you guys not talk about it before? Another reason why I feel like conflicts happen is because expectations.
Okay.
Like what each person expects from a marriage. I think there's this flawed belief of what marriage should be like.
So, and where do you think this flawed comes from? Social media or?
Yeah, movies, social media, conversations that people have, setting unrealistic measures or unrealistic goals. Like this man has to be this and has to be this and has to be this. Even the brother, he's setting, criteria and things that I don't think you would ever find it. So what happens is when the brother gets married, he's setting these goals for this girl. You have to be this, you have to do this for me, you have to be like this and like this. And if she is falling short in certain things,
right,
he's like, my rights are missing. You know that she's going to sometimes not listen to you.
Right.
There's times which she's going to disobey you. There's times when she doesn't want to hear what you have to say. There's times she's going to ignore your phone calls. We're not saying that's a good thing.
Right.
But that's marriage. That's what happens. People differ, disagree, arguments, voice are raised. The wife, if you don't have that belief and you think it has to be 100% perfect, if I tell her stand up and I tell her jump and she doesn't say to me how high, then this woman is aq, she's a disobedient woman and I'm going to get married again and I'm going to let her go. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
There are moments when, of course, you're not going to get the best side of your wife. And that's the times, of course, the time of the month. What do you call it, when she's pregnant? These are times when a man really needs to bite his tongue, his lip. Just, brother, don't argue. Don't say anything. Be quiet. Just at this moment, you don't no inputs. Just let it be.
Okay.
Why? Because this time she's not deliberately choosing to do what she's doing, or she's not deliberately saying what she's saying to you. Biologically, you have to understand her body, what she's going through, and this is a moment where you have to tap out and say, look, I'm not going to argue with you. You're right, I'm wrong, and help her. It's just a few days anyways. Ayyam al-ma'dudat. It's a few days. And after that, she'll laugh with you and say, why did I say that? Why did this happen? I shouldn't have said that to you. I shouldn't have done this to you. That's why the Prophet ﷺ in the hadith, he mentioned that if you marry a wife and you see in her things that doesn't please you, you don't like this trait about her, then what you need to remember is she has an ocean of good. The fact that a brother can come up to you and say to you, Imam, my wife, she has this problem and this problem and this problem and this problem and this problem. And then I say, only 5, yeah? He goes, yeah. I'm like, Akhi, only 5. And you've been married for how long? 15. Wallahi, she's a good wife. ومن ذا الذي ترضى سجاياه كلها كفى المرء نبلا أن تعد معايبه. Who's perfect? There's nobody perfect, right? So the fact that you can count your wife's mistakes is what? Is a sign that she's got a lot of good. Allahumma barik. So no one's perfect here. No husband is perfect. The imam that you're going to and you're talking to, the student of knowledge you're asking a question to, none of them are perfect. There's a list of mistakes and shortcomings that they have. And our wives are hiding those mistakes for us, or they're concealing it for us, or they're looking at the ocean of other goods that we might have, inshallah. And they're inshallah ta'ala, forgiving us because of that. So the brother has to understand that this woman that you're marrying, Akhil Kareem, she's not perfect. Nor are you perfect. And it is with that imperfection that you see perfection in her. Your imperfections are my perfection. Yani what you lack is what I wanted you for. And if you marry a sister, Zakaria, and that sister, she literally becomes everything that you wanted. Is she or is she you? You just want yourself, basically. You have to let her. This is what makes who she is, right?
Right.
And the same is with the sister. This brother, yes, he might not be this. He might not have this. He might not have this, sister. But he has this, and 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 he has. So look, yani having unrealistic expectations in marriage is what destroys a lot of marriages. A lot of marriages. Another thing is communication. People don't talk. ولذلك when marriage problems are brought, what do? The Imam just makes both of them talk. That's all I do. I get the husband and the wife to talk. And I let them just say what they both want to say. And you will find out that they actually haven't been saying these things to each other properly. They haven't been communicating. Actually, they were filling the blanks.
Just assuming about each other.
Exactly. So the wife is actually saying, yeah, he doesn't, you know, when he came into the house, he didn't say salam alaikum to me. The reason why he didn't say salam alaikum to me is because he hates me. And he doesn't, she filled that gap. He, on the other hand, is saying, I called her twice yesterday. She didn't pick up. She's deliberately, no, you added the word deliberately. She's deliberately choosing not to pick up my phone call. No, you added deliberately. And so people start filling the gaps and start making up their own chain of events. And there's a concept in psychology that they say, which is don't contaminate your memory. Sometimes when you go back to that memory and you keep revisiting it again and again and again, you contaminate it.
Right.
You change it. The event, how it was, because you keep visiting, going back to it again and again, you will contaminate it. It's like a crime scene. You don't go to the crime scene and touch it. It's left. No one goes to it. So memory, what happens to it? So people, when they go back and they keep playing that event again, certain things were not there and they start adding to it. So anyways, that's what happens in lack of communication.
When you say you sit these couples down and you just make them communicate, is that most of the cases, would you say?
Yeah, because they were shouting. Both
Right.
were shouting. This one was saying this and he was saying this, and they have not been communicating this point to each other.
And
Like, for example,
Uh-huh.
I give an example. There was a sister, she got married. And when she got married, she didn't want to have children. She said, I don't want to have children. And I don't want to have kids.
Right.
I'm not going to have kids. Now, is it right? Is it wrong? Should she have or should she have not? That's not the point. The point is the story. I just want to focus on something. So then the sister, she took preventative contraceptions to prevent herself from having children. Now, she didn't tell her husband. Again, is it right? Is it wrong? That's not the point. I'm not focusing on that. She got married. She did this. The husband found out later. What did he feel? Betrayed. He felt betrayed. He sat with her and said, why did you do this? She's saying, I want to spend time with you. Because I've had an experience through my sister. So I've lived this experience through my sister. Meaning, she got married and her husband, as soon as she got married, she got pregnant. And then she never ended up having time with him. And child after child was born. And they never bonded.
Right.
And that caused between the two of them, because straight away she had a child, it caused a what? A bridge. So she said that was my reason. It was out of love for him. It's not because I didn't want to have kids for him. It's I wanted to get to know him. I wanted to fly with him. I wanted to travel with him. When he goes, I want to go to that country, I'm going with him. If I had children, I wouldn't get that opportunity. Now, right or wrong, he believes that she's doing it because she doesn't want to have his kids. She's saying, I honestly, wallahi, want to have his kids. But I love him so much. I want to. The point I'm coming to is her action right or wrong. It's not my point. My point is he doesn't know that this is why she did it. And she doesn't understand that he feels this way because of she doesn't understand. She's like, why if I'm so they're not communicating. There are multiple examples like that where two parties, there's an absence of communication.
So
they have a reason of why they did it. Is that reason right? Is it wrong? Besides the point again.
Right.
But you have to hear the person's reason to understand it in order to deal with it.
Right.
And it changes perspectives. If you now know that a woman took that contraception, you still feel upset because I always wanted you to have my children. But okay, you want to spend more time with me. I feel different. Versus if you did it because you don't want to have my children. Do you see the difference? Each situation would call for different response. So communication is vital.
And I can imagine just through that, issues get resolved very quickly.
100%.
Okay, subhanAllah.
So that's why marriage conflicts, the way to get it is to allow the two parties to talk and allow each person to listen, not hear, but listen to each other. And that's why adabu al-muhadatha, doing a course on how to listen and hear each other's points is very, very well needed. It really resolves so much problems. And there's a few other points I think,
Okay,
sorry,
yes,
to add on, Jazakallah khairan,
Wayak.
which cause a lot of divorces, why people leave each other. And that is comparing your marriage to another person's marriage. And this is very dangerous. I'm married. Me and my wife are happy with each other. Our marriage it works like this. It's amazing the way that it is. There is nothing between us other than love. But you, Zakaria, might have another way you and your wife deal with each other. I come and I say to you, you know what, Zakaria? You shouldn't be doing things like this with your wife. Why? Because this is not how I do it with my wife. And then I start whispering to you, and your family, your wife, you destroyed only because I'm giving you measures or expectations or explanations which are not, it's all based on personal preferences.
So
it's based on what? Personal preferences. You having this relationship with your wife is not shara'i. It's not qala Allah, qala Rasul. It's like your the way that you understand?
Yeah.
Am I making myself?
It makes sense.
And a lot of these decisions that you and your wife are making together, or that you guys are both doing, it's not halal or haram. It's aada, norms, customs, how you guys like doing it together.
It works for you.
It works for you, mashallah. But that shouldn't be, because it worked for you, it's going to work for Zakaria and his wife. Because you guys might not like doing it like that. Do you understand? And so this destroys a lot of marriages like this. So you start saying, well, I look up to Abdul Rahman. He's my friend. He's my teacher, and this and that. You know what? I'm actually going to implement this advice that he gave me. And you go home and you try to implement it, and then it destroys everything that you built. So now, if it is something shar'an, from a religious perspective, I tell you, this is wrong. You shouldn't be doing this in your household. From a religious perspective, two things have to be there. I have to be a person of authority to say that. Meaning, not any random person can say that. A person has to have knowledge in order to say, this is shara'an wrong what you're doing. And secondly, that person should say it in a way that doesn't cause the marriage to end. He should bring solutions and how they can deal with it, and etc. But majority of the times you're hearing advice is like a brother, mashallah, calls his wife when he wants to do things. So he consults his wife, he talks to his wife. Him and his wife are very close. They do things together. So if you tell him, Akhil Kareem, tomorrow we're going to go out, inshallah, we're going to do something together. He'll say, yeah, I want to, tell my wife what's going to happen, and I'm going to inform her. I might not do that.
Right.
But you like doing that with your wife? I say to you, what? Zakaria, what are you thinking? You shouldn't be doing that. Akhi, you don't tell these women what to do or what you're going to do. Hide it, conceal it. Don't tell them. Now, this is a problem.
Some brothers will say he's whipped.
They say you're whipped. And so now Zakaria goes to his wife and says, I'm not going to tell you where I'm going.
So,
because Khalid, Zayd and Amr and Bakr don't do that. Why do I have to do it? Brother, that's subjective. If you want to do that and it works for your marriage, فَنِعِمَّهِ, what a great thing. And if another brother doesn't tell his wife and it works for him, فَنِعِمَّهِ, as the asl is that this is all subjective. What works for you doesn't necessarily work for this person. What works for that person might not work for this person. So a lot of marriages, they crumble because of that.
So how about then, I understand trying to get other people's opinions and, into the marriage, but what about getting advice after an internal conflict?
And that's another issue which causes a bigger problem. It may even cause the conflict between the spouses, the wife and the husband, to actually get worse. Is that they go to the wrong person. So when they go to the wrong person to deal with the situation, he adds more fuel to it. So you might go to someone who's on this red pill movement, and then you ask him, Akhil Kareem, me and my wife are married. Yesterday I called her, she didn't pick up my call, and this and that. And it's a time of the month, and she just was annoyed with you.
Yeah.
He'll say to you, Akhil Kareem, man up. Well, man up. How are you letting that happen to yourself? And from there, he gives you an advice, and that advice destroys everything your marriage stood on. Or a sister is advised by a feminist who does not like men. She advises him, men are trash, men are this and that. So the minute she says, I don't leave the house without my husband taking permission from him. What? Permission? 21st century? وهكذا. And so then she gives advice to that woman, and that woman comes back to her husband changed. And then the husband's like, whoa, what's going on here? And that destroys the marriage. So the people you go to and you take advice from, you have to handpick them. You can't just take advice from everybody. What tends to happen to a lot of brothers and also a lot of sisters is that, first of all, don't go out of your household to talk about your problems to other people. Aslan. First of all, that's number one. Rule number one. If you look at the way Allah spoke about the wife and the husband, Allah speaks about them as clothing. هُنَّ لِبَاسٌ لَكُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ لِبَاسٌ لَهُنَّ. That you're clothing for each other. Clothing is that it conceals your awrah, your private part. Your clothes doesn't run out and tell the people the way that your awrah looks like, right? Conceals it, hides it for you. Your wife is like that for you. Your shortcomings, your problems, she's the one who conceals it for you. And you do the same for her. You don't talk about your wife's problems and her shortcomings and what she does to you to other people. Do you understand? So the sister, she has a conflict with her husband. They disagree on something. She's running. She packs her bag. She orders an Uber, or she's got a car. She goes to her family's house and she says, guess what happened today? And then she talks about her husband and what happened. Now the family get involved. Now when they get involved, it's messy. It becomes very messy. But that wife knows the reality that she might have exaggerated a little bit. Or the husband might have done the same thing. Call his family, tell him what his wife has done. Maybe he exaggerated a little bit. And now his family or her family cannot stand the other.
Especially if the couple forgive each other.
Yeah, majority of the time that's what happens.
And then,
that the wife and the husband come back to each other, hug each other, because they both were there. What happened? They know what happened. That it wasn't really like that. But words have been taken out of context. Everyone added what they wanted to it. So now the mother of the girl does not want to see this boy. Even she says, if he even is, comes out of Jannah, I don't want him. Some of them say,
SubhanAllah.
Like, I will never, the guy who said that to you, the guy who did this to you, and 10 years later, she's still saying, he did this to you. The opposite is true. The boy, he tells his mom what his wife said or did to him. And she just she never forgives that girl. And she holds on to that girl's statement, your mother, and says, how are you with that woman who said this and this and this about me?
We often hear in scenarios like that where the mother commands the son to divorce that wife. What's the ruling on that?
So there's difference of opinion on this issue. Like, inshallah ta'ala, that which seems strongest, rajih, and the strongest opinion is the Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, when he was asked, similar situation. And a father told his son to divorce, and then the son refused. Ahmad aligned himself with the son, and he agreed with the son, don't do it. And then the father said, but don't you remember the story of Umar ibn Khattab and his son, Abdullah ibn Umar? And the Prophet said to Abdullah ibn Umar, listen to your father. Imam Ahmad said, are you Umar ibn Khattab? Meaning, this is not a general rule. The hadith of Umar is a qadiyatu ayni la umuma laha. You can't generalize it. You have to be like Umar. It has to be a religious reason why you said this statement to your son to divorce his wife. But a lot of the times, parents are not like that. It's personal reasons. It's not religious reasons. It's because the parent just can't stand his child. A lot of the times that it's an attachment issue, that the parent feels like, I want my son back. I love him. He's the best child I have. And so the parent is too clingy on the son, or the parents might be clingy on that daughter. So it's personal reasons.
Is there another point you want to add on?
No, Jazakallah khair.
Barakallah feek. So now, if we say we're to move on now, and let's just take a step back. Now, if I want to marry a particular sister, and all the boxes are ticked, in many cultures, marriage is a huge fitna, right? either they want a free mixing wedding, or music and whatnot.
Mm.
Now, is it acceptable for me to have the opinion that it's, let's say, impermissible for me to have a wedding, knowing that it's inevitable what's going to happen? So I make the decision not to have it. Rather, I deem it to be impermissible, knowing what's going to happen. Yani, sadd al-dhara'i. So, what are your thoughts on that?
The issue of whether you should have a wedding is a disputed matter, whether it's wajib or not.
Okay.
Based on the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he said, "Awlim walau bishah," yani slaughter even if it's a goat or a sheep. So definitely it's a highly recommended deed to do it.
Okay.
And so you can't close that door. Something that's recommended in our religion, no one has the rights to say, "Ala al-aqal," yani the other one says it's wajib, you have to do it. But another opinion is that it's what is recommended.
Right.
So you can't come and make something that's recommended haram, wedding. But if a certain wedding, or this wedding that you're going to be having is going to have haram, because of her family preparing these haram things and putting these things, then you don't have to close the whole door of the wedding. You just have to stop that munkar from not happening, to prevent it. If it happens without your permission and you fought it and you tried and you did it, then لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah does not burden a soul more than it can carry. That's not upon you. It's the people who did that sin. They're the ones that are going to take that burden with themselves on the day of judgment.
In a similar scenario, usually, let's say if it's a brother wedding, because in today's age, brothers sort of have more authority in their weddings than sisters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, a brother can shut it down, say no, I'm not having it, case closed. But at the same time, the ties of kinship will be severed. Now, what do we do in this kind of scenario?
The way that you go about it is very important. So there's two things I want.
Okay.
Number one is that the ruling of Allah is above and beyond everybody.
So
the rule of Allah is above everybody. We obey Allah over everybody. لا طاعة لمخلوق في معصية الخالق. We can never obey the creation in the disobedience of the Creator. Allah is number one. So definitely this is haram is not going to happen under my watch, that's for sure. But how do I go about it is important. And how do I make sure it doesn't happen? I have to be very wise. I have to have a lot of wisdom. I have to put measures in place that inshallah ta'ala I don't allow, to the best of my ability, the severing of ties and kinship. I try my best. If it happens, and I tried and I exerted the effort, I use all of my effort and wisdom, then the rule of Allah is above and beyond everybody else. And if it angers and upsets others, then, as they say, it is what it is.
So I'm sure you've come across many scenarios, brothers and sisters coming up to you talking about how this is what's going on in my wedding and my family's like this. So we understand now the idea of the way we approach it is very important. But practically, how can we take that step based on just like some scenarios that you've been through and how? So a lot of the generally speaking,
a lot of the time, what's happening is that the brother, his parents are the ones that have paid for his wedding.
Okay.
Now they're gonna choose what happens in that wedding.
Okay.
So if you don't want that things to happen, make sure that you were the one who brought the money for the wedding.
Okay.
Secondly, be part of the process of how that wedding is happening. If you've handed it over to somebody else and said you prepare the wedding, then of course that's what's going to happen. And you know that person is not religiously grounded. Of course they're going to start doing all these stuff. So get control over it. If it's a hall, be the one to book the hall. If it is food, what is going to be served, be part of the process. Lead the process rather. So the chances of it is going to be very low. Yes, there happens a lot of the times that the girl's family want to get involved in those things. Again, you make it clear the boundaries that you want to set and that you're not going to allow. And if you've got your wife on your side, the girl you're going to get married to, she's on your side on this issue, and you and her are on the same page, both of you guys, it's very easy to get the family to conform with both of you guys. Again, when you're marrying, you selected the girl and her family together.
Correct.
You don't just get married to a girl by herself, as you should know. When you're marrying a girl, you're literally like getting her whole family into your relationship. So you need to pick the in-laws that you're having. What kind of people are they? So at the beginning, you selected, you handpicked, you chose his family. So you're not expecting, inshallah ta'ala, there to be haram things being done in the wedding. But if it does happen, which happens in a lot of cases, then get control. You get control of the situation by financially being the one that gets the hall and books the food and everything. So if after that you've tried, you put all those measures in place and it doesn't happen, and haram is then conducted in the wedding, then you're not going to be, inshallah ta'ala, sinning. It's not upon you. Those people who did it are going to take that wizr. That sin is going to be on their neck. But we have to, wallahi, understand, it's sad that a lot of us practice these haram things in the wedding when it's a moment where we should have shown a lot of obedience to Allah tabarak wa ta'ala, because we're starting a marriage.
The
foundation has to be very, very strong. Like, you're starting now. If you've opened the doors of your marriage with haram, then you really think your marriage is going to stand? As Allah tabarak wa ta'ala, He says, وَالْبَلَدُ الطَّيِّبُ يَخْرُجُ نَبَاتُهُ بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِ وَالَّذِي خَبُثَ لَا يَخْرُجُ إِلَّا نَكِدًا. The land which is good produces good vegetations, and the land which is filthy and bad is going to only produce that which is bad. If the foundation is corrupt from the get-go, this is taking place, both of you guys are happy with it. Fast forward, what do you expect when children come into the picture? How do you want Allah tabarak wa ta'ala to take care of you, preserve your marriage for you, your children and your progeny? And here you are, your wedding is haram and the music is haram and there's free mixing going on. Of course, you've disobeyed Allah here and you want to be taken care of, and it doesn't work like that. And that's why you find a lot of weddings, they don't last long because of the fact that it was built on haram. The asas of it is what? The foundation of it is very, very bad. Again, they can rectify it, repent from it, because the one who repents from it is like he's never done that sin in the first place. التائب من الذنب كمن لا ذنب له. No.
Barakallahu feek. So before I just move on to post nikah, now there's a few things that perhaps take place during that time. One of them being the mahr. So subhanallah, we tend to see, for instance, now we know the mahr is the right of the sister, and the brothers are trying to get it as cheap as possible, and perhaps one just wants to take advantage, the other wants as cheap as possible. So what is expected from the sister, knowing yes, it is her right, and as well as the brother?
So what we have to understand is, number one, the issue, the mahr, the dowry of the woman, it's something that has no shar'i restriction on.
Okay.
And the Sharia hasn't capped it on something. And it doesn't say that this is the amount that can be giving, or this is the amount you should give, or this amount you can't give. This is what the ulama refer to as haqiqa urfiyya, meaning it goes back to the customs and the norms of the people. وَالْعُرْفُ مَعْمُولٌ بِهِ إِذَا وَرَدْ حُكْمٌ مِنَ الشَّرْعِ الشَّرِيفِ لَمْ يُحَدْ. The Sharia didn't define, the religion did not define what this word is in its application. So the word al-mahr, we know what it means, but we don't have any limitations. So a woman can ask for whatever she likes for her dowry. But what does the religion say? So she's allowed to. She can ask whatever she wishes. But what does the religion say? It says that the best of women is the woman who's what? Whose dowry is very little. She's the best. The woman who wants to get married to this guy and she puts her dowry down is the best of women. With that being said, Lakin, and you pointed out, mashallah, the question, a lot of men take advantage of that. Yes, this woman putting her dowry down and trying to get married to this brother in a halal way, it shows that this woman, taqwa and iman. But what does a lot of brothers do from this? They take that and they take advantage of that situation. And what do? They take a woman and give her what is really not much. This is to get the woman value herself, feel like she's valued, she's appreciated, she's wanted. Of course, no one really restricts themselves to money. A woman's value is more than the mehr, la shak. But it gives her that feeling of like, I would pay this to be with you. Do you understand? Her whole value is not restricted, of course, to the money, for sure.
course.
But the minute you throw something very like small, and it gives that the feeling that you're this is how you are to me. So this should be capped by the culture and the customs of the people. It should be the thing to cap it. So if you're in a land where £1,000 is the mayor, £1,000 generally, so you should strike the balance there and make it 1,500, so 2,000, whatever it may be in that land. If the woman says 10,000 my meher, you as a brother you have two options. You don't have to insult the girl, you don't have to ridicule her. She chose not to take what's best. She chose to take what she wants. She's entitled to that. You have two choices, Akhil Kareem. You want to marry her? Give the 10,000. You don't want to marry her? Keep it moving. So that's, again, it's her choice. It's her rights to choose what she wants and the amount that she wants. And it's for you, your choice, brother, whether you want to take it or not.
Yeah.
And you have the rights to say, look, sister, I really do want to marry you. That's too much for me. I prefer this much. Can you do that? If she says, nope, I can't.
So in the hadith, we mentioned little. Are we saying that perhaps if the sister says, I don't want a mahar, is that the best thing?
A woman should take a mahar.
Okay.
She should take a mahar. And she shouldn't let a man marry her without any dowry.
But if a sister says, I want to do what's best in terms of the mahar, what should she do?
The best is the hadith says the woman who has the least mahar. It doesn't say the one who doesn't have no mahar.
So not zero?
No, not zero.
Okay.
So there's definitely something that has to be there.
Right.
No.
Barakallah.
For her to be from those who she's in the best.
So.
You know.
No.
And also, I'm a father, to be honest. I have a daughter, and it wouldn't sit right with me if a brother came forward and he proposed to get married to my daughter for something, and he said, I'm only gonna take this. Do you understand? It's offensive. A father will find that very offensive.
Now, if you move on, post-marriage now, and we spoke about this earlier quite a bit in terms of, certain things that sustain a marriage, like communication, and both parties understanding each other, keeping internal conflicts internally. Another topic is gender roles, and perhaps this phrase is something that's been quite common, in terms of discussions between people. And could you just give us the Islamic understanding of what is expected from the husband and what is expected from the wife?
Wallahi, this issue of what is expected, again, the asl is that the marriage should be sustained. The wife and the husband, they should protect their marriage, look after their marriage, and make sure that their marriage is preserved and protected, and that they live with each other in harmony, in love and care, and they appreciate each other. There's a lot of affection, there's attention in that marriage. Now, the details of what that wife has to do for the husband, and the details of what that husband needs to do for the wife, the details of it is set by the Sharia some, and a lot of it the Sharia leaves it to their desires and how they want to do and what they want to do for each other. For example, the rights that the wife has, if we start with that, is the financial support that the husband has to give. So this is something that the man cannot try to wiggle out of it.
Right.
He has to provide for his wife, he has to provide for his children. This is something he's going to be asked about يوم القيامة كلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته. That you're responsible over your wife's financial need. You're responsible. You're going to be asked financially. Your children, you're going to be asked. Also, the wife, the rights that she has over her husband.
Sorry, before we just move past the financial part, some sisters do work. They do make their own money. Now, if the sister says she wants to contribute, a lot of people see that as perhaps now the man, he's less of a man for accepting that. In that particular scenario, could you just share some thoughts?
Definitely, if the woman wants to contribute financially to the house, and she wants to contribute to the rent and utility bills, she wants to, then it's her choice. She can. No one's telling her you can't. She got every right to do that if she wants to. She cannot be forced to do it,
of course.
But if she wants to, she can. Personally, do I think it's a good idea? No, I don't think it's a good idea.
Okay.
I don't think it's a good idea that your wife financially contributes to the house. I don't think it's a good idea. I think that's something that the husband should take and not touch a woman's wealth. And tell the wife to keep your money. If you want it, give it sadaqah. Let's help orphans or masakeen or people who need it. As for this household and this and that, I personally, I'm the one that's responsible. And inshallah, leave me with my responsibility.
Correct.
And the reason I say that is because one of the things Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the man responsible for, number one, is الرجال قوامون على النساء بما فضل الله بعضهم على بعض وبما أنفقوا من أموالهم. Wealth and providing for your wife is what makes you a qawwama, gives you that. So a man must financially provide for his wife and his children and take care of their financial needs. If your wife chooses and says, I want to financially contribute, she's got every right to. If she wants to, she can say that if she wants to.
Yeah.
But she's not going to be forced to do it. If she stops halfway and says, I don't want to carry on doing it, she has every right to stop as well. But me personally, I think it's a personal opinion. Again, it's not a Shara'i perspective, just a personal opinion. It's best to leave your wife's wealth for her and let her keep it. But if the husband takes it and uses it for the house, again, it's permissible. It's not haram. It's my personal opinion.
In terms of financially, are there things that perhaps the husband can say no to and things that he cannot say no to? In terms of providing?
Yeah, the husband has to provide by bil ma'ruf.
Okay.
Yani when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he told the female companion, the wife of Abu Sufyan, Hinda, she said, Ya Rasulullah, Abu Sufyan is a rajulun shahih. He's a very stingy man. He's a stingy man. And he doesn't give us any money, me and my children. What do I do in this situation? Or she said, I take some of his money. What do I do? Is that right what I'm doing? The Prophet, he said to her, Khudi, take min malihi, from his wealth, for you and your children, bil ma'ruf. Bil ma'ruf means what? It's based on the custom and the culture of the people. And that changes from country to country. Like in the UK, for example, how much is it going to be for a man to provide for his wife? The rent he has to pay, the utility bills, the food, the clothing that he has to give to the wife, and her personal needs. And it's different to what he has to do back home in Somalia.
Yes.
And the money that he has to provide for back home in Somalia, or the brother has to do back home in Pakistan, or that which he has to do in the UK. It's different. So each country is different what he has to provide. And what is defined, how much you have to give her, there's no set of, it's just the ma'ruf, as customs. If the people consider it to be that you're unjust, you're not providing for, you're not taking care of your wife financially, then that means you're not. Because it all goes back to the customs and the norms of the people. And as Allah said, وَعَاشِرُهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, live with them in good. And ma'ruf is not a defined term where 200, 5,000. So it's just bil ma'ruf, in good. Again, this all goes back to another point that we mentioned before, which is the qadiyatu al-kuf, compatibility. So if you married a woman that, for example, her family and her are wealthy, financially wealthy, rich, then yeah, you're going to suffer a little bit more, brother, than a brother whose wife comes from the village, for example, and they see any money as to be a lot. So that brother is going to find it easy to fulfill his wife and her needs and make her happy. Then the brother who's marrying a woman who, when she was born, her mother was given as a prize or a present for having this child. She was given a Mercedes G-Wagon. I don't know if it was there then, but do you understand?
Of course. So now that's providing. The next point in terms of what's expected from the man who you're speaking about.
Yeah, the man in Islam, that's what is expected from him, is to take care of this family, look after this family. I mentioned this a few times and I elaborate on it a lot. every relationship that you have, whoever you're dealing with, whether it be colleagues at work, whether it be your children, whether it be your neighbors, whatever you're dealing with, every relationship is built on 3 A's: appreciation, affection, and attention. Anyone who perfects that has good relationship with the people around him. So you have to appreciate other people, affection, and also attention. And your wife, definitely. Your wife, she needs a lot of attention from you. She needs a lot of affection from you. And she needs a lot of appreciation from you. If you want to sustain your marriage, and you want to be a man whose wife and his family are happy, then these are the 3 things that you need to focus on. Focus, not just look at, but focus on it. And your marriage will last very, very long. But if you're oblivious to your marriage, you're oblivious to your wife, you don't know what she's, the clothes that she wore for you, or the little details of what she's done to the house and the bedroom, and you don't realize no attention to that. No attention to her progress and what she's been doing and how you're not paying any attention to her. You don't give any attention to her. You're always on your phone and this and that. It deteriorates the marriage. It deteriorates her feelings towards you. It makes her feel unwanted and unappreciated. Also appreciating her efforts and being grateful for whatever is contributed to your life. A lot of brothers, again, it goes back to the issue of expectation. He's got a certain expectation, and whatever she's doing, he's got that expectations, and he's going to stick to that expectations only. So even if she's doing all of that, expectations. And also this goes again back to the issue of compatibility, sister. Like, you have to find a guy who's compatible. If you're marrying a guy who had a maid that used to cook for him and a maid that used to clean, there were 2 separate maids, and he was right, and he woke up and the food was brought to him in his bed, then you tell him come down, the food is downstairs, is for him disrespect. The fact that you're not bringing it to me in my bed. So compatibility is very important, and who you marry and who you select. Wallahi, you know the hadith that talk about friendship and companionship. The most important companion is your spouse. That's the closest person to you.
So in terms of, preserving this companionship, a lot of people have this struggle of their wife and their mother. There's a lot of conflicts. Perhaps the mother tends to get more involved into the marriage. How can, brothers who are struggling with these kind of issues go around?
The reality of this is that there isn't one answer to that problem. There is not one answer or 1 point or 2 points or 3 points or 5 points you can go with. It's all about you understanding how your mom is like and how your wife is like. Siyasa meaning what? You have to be a very smart, clever person. So from the things that so many people do and that causes their marriage to deteriorate and destroys the relationship between them and their wife, for example, or their parents, is bringing your wife in the house of your mother, or bringing your mum to the house of your wife.
As in living there?
Or your mother living with you, for example. Siyasa, politics, you have to be very siyasi. So for example, if you have a sister who's older than you, for example, advising her to look after mum would be much better if you know that your wife is very tough and rough. Okay.
But obviously there's the exception of, certain cultures where that is the norm.
Yeah, so that's where when they've, zid ghibban tazdid hubban. Increase in absence, the hearts, find love for each other. When I don't see you for a few days, I miss you. Zakaria, I haven't seen him in a long time. I want to see him. But every day you're in my face, and I'm seeing you every single moment, then I'm like, Zakaria, when am I not going to see you? You understand? So if the mother and the wife are meeting each other every day and seeing each other every day, that creates a bit of hostility. The mom starts talking to this girl like he's her own daughter, because she feels like that's what she is. The girl feels like, this is not my mom, why is she saying these things to me? وهكذا. And then later you got 4 kids with this wife. Your mom is your mom and you have to obey her, and she's got a big position in your heart and your mind. You don't want to destroy this marriage and destroy these kids' life, and you don't want to hurt your mother, and she's the number one for you. So there is ways to avoid it by telling your sister, for example, if she can Mom can stay with her, and you financially contribute to your sister's house in which mom stays with,
Right.
and then your mom just comes and visits you and your wife, and she goes. Maybe that would work. You taking your wife to to your sibling's house and things like that. Definitely, that makes it even worse a lot of the time. So it's very, very tricky. So I don't know if I don't personally have one answer for that particular issue. I just think you just have to have a lot of hikmah in the way that you deal with things. I think a lot of guys had to fuel the problem themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They mention to their mum what their wife said, and they tell the wife what the mum said, and that causes a lot of hostility between the two. So that's also like, don't say except good. Sometimes the siyasa is, even hikmah is to buy something from a shop and go give it to your wife and say, my mum bought you this.
Right.
Or take it from your wife something and take it to your mum and say, look, my wife made this for you, this food. It's, of course, take the price tag off it and then give it to your mum and say, look, my wife made this. This is permissible, right?
Right. And it won't be considered lying.
Yeah, because you see there's two people that are not on good terms. You're trying to bring good between them.
So Ustad, you mentioned now the importance of maintaining this companionship between the husband and the wife, and as well as now, your wife and your mother. So for some people, they do tend to reach a limit, and a lot of people tend to defer to counseling. Now, when it just comes to counseling, is there a way to go about it, or is it better perhaps to just avoid it? If you could just elaborate on that, and then if you could also break it down for us, inshallah.
Yeah, so as I said before, when there's a conflict that happens between a wife and a husband, they both should try to work towards fixing the problem between themselves.
Yes.
And that's a skill that involves, as I mentioned, communication, talking to each other, etc. Then if they both can't, Allah tells us, فَبْعَثُوا حَكَمًا مِّنْ أَهْلِهِ وَحَكَمًا مِّنْ أَهْلِهَا. So there's a judge that comes from her side and a judge that comes from his side, and they come and they meet. And the father from her side and the father from the boy's side come and they talk and they look at the issue and revise it. And then there is a solution that's reached from there. So they first try within themselves. If they've tried and exhausted it, then they should communicate the matter to their fathers.
Right.
The reason I say the fathers is because the father looks at it with a lot of insight, less emotions, and wants to see that the daughter is not oppressed or is not oppressing.
Okay.
Like when a mother gets involved, there's a lot of emotions.
Correct.
And so she might sometimes harm the situation or bring about more problems than the good that she's intending to bring. As for the concept of you and the husband differed on an issue, or there was a khilaf between you guys, and then you go and you just talk to your sister about it, or you go and you talk to your friend about it, and you talk about your husband and you mention his mistakes and his shortcomings, that's something that's not allowed. That's ghiba, that's backbiting, and it's not permissible.
So.
And that a lot of the times leads to, number one, people talking about your marriage, you and your husband. Two, it leads to getting advice a lot of the time from the wrong people. So it's best to just go directly. Once you tried, you and your husband both tried, then that's the best thing is to go to the parents, so the father, and he gets involved and he does his job. And he doesn't just speak to his daughter and then take her side, but he says, I need to talk to the boy's father and the boy, see it from their side, what's going on.
Right.
Because you need to hear both sides of the story.
Correct. Barakallah fik, Ustad. Now, moving on, divorce. Perhaps nowadays, would you say people quit too early? We spoke about all these points about being able to maintain it, what to do. And qadrullah, for a lot of people, it does reach that stage. So what do you think, or what makes people reach the stage? And do you think most cases are avoidable? A lot of people think people do quit too early, right?
Divorce is a very, very complex issue.
Of course.
It's a very complex issue. And it requires, again, a lot of, like, you find what led to a divorce or what caused the divorce or the way to deal with the conflict that happened that led to the divorce. So complex sometimes, very complex. So I think maybe one time maybe just do a podcast on divorce, its rulings, and also how to avoid it, and after divorce has happened, how to deal. Because a lot of people don't know how to deal with disagreements.
Right.
Like they only know how to deal with agreements. When they disagree with each other, they're different people now. They forget the good that happened between themselves. The wife does not remember what this husband used to do for her. The husband doesn't remember all the good that this woman did. Like he's forgot it. And Allah tells us in the Quran, وَلَا تَنْسَوُا الْفَضْلَ بَيْنَكُمْ. Don't forget the good between you guys. So a lot of people forget. Like, rubbish. The most worst. Why did Allah bring you into my life? I wish I never met you in my life. Like, the husband would say that, the wife would say that. And وَلَا تَنْسَوُا الْفَضْلَ بَيْنَكُمْ. And there was a lot of good things you loved, you enjoyed about this person. Why have you forgotten it? So at the times of conflicts and disagreements, which anyone can be, there's no person who's perfect, right? So the husband can be the one that was wrong, or the woman was wrong. And anyways, the marriage now ended. There is a manhajiyya, methodology, a way, a tariqah in how you deal with the divorce that now has happened. What do you do? What don't you do? So it requires, I think, another podcast, I think.
Yeah, definitely, inshallah. And to conclude, we've spoke about a lot of important points, and you have given some advice in terms of how parents should react and how they should treat their children, especially when they're trying to go on this journey of marriage. But what advice do you think is pivotal for a newlywed?
A newlywed?
If you could just give us perhaps 2 points.
The way you start your marriage is very important. I think when you get married, a lot of the times you forget the most basic things. And so those basic things are the things that you need to focus on, and the bigger things are going to fall in line. For instance, when you both get married first, there is sunnah that needs to be followed. If you don't follow these little sunnahs, they are later going to be the downfall of, or even problems in your marriage. Let's say, example, when the husband wants to have intimacy with his wife, just to make the dua. Bismillah, Allahumma jannib al-shaytan wa jannib al-shaytan mimma razaqtana, to make the dua. That is going to protect that child from shaitan.
Forever.
Yeah. So now you know that if you just make that dua, you can protect your child. And you're newlywed. So you tend to forget that. Because you get married, you love your wife, you're excited, bam, you're intimate straight away, and you don't make the dua. So these little things that you need to be doing consistently, every intimate relationship that you have with your spouse, you make this dua, and the child that's born is protected. That helps you with the tarbiyah. It helps you with what? The tarbiyah of that child. So I would just want to say, focusing on the basic stuff, It's not technical, it's not too hard, it's not complicated. With that, you find a lot of people, if they've been married and then they get married again, and there's been a big distance between, or they've been married for like 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, that marriage ended or something, or they get married again to a second wife or whatever, they tend to correct so much of their mistakes. So experience as well. And if you're young, you don't have experience. So you listen to those who are experienced. You learn from them. You listen to them. Focus. You take notes. But when you take notes, you learn what can be applied in your relationship and what can't be applied in your relationship. I would definitely say to newlyweds, Akhi, wallahi, when that wife walks into your house, I remember that she's the daughter of a father. And one day you're going to have a daughter like that. What would you do to your daughter? What would you do if a man mistreated your daughter? That's the question. What would you do? And how would you want your daughter to be treated? That's somebody's daughter. That is someone's daughter that you're married to. Keeping that in your mind.
Correct.
And the same with the sister. That's someone's son. How would you like your son to be treated in a relationship, in a marriage? Would you like a woman to abuse him, mentally abuse him, harm him, insult him, ridicule him, put him down? Would you like that for your son? Sister would say, no, I wouldn't. So these things are things that you have to take into consideration when you get into a marriage. Also, what you need to look at when it comes to newlyweds is you're making and you're writing what your marriage is going to be. The early stages is what each person is expecting here. So when you get married, if you certain things you put in place, it becomes very hard to undo them later. So be very careful what you promise and what you agree to. If you make all these agreements and all these promises, you're going to struggle later to be able to deliver. And that's when it's going to bite you. So the brother's making all these promises. I'll do this. I promise I'll be like this. I promise I'll never do this. And then later you grow and you start changing and you start seeing things differently. And now you want to do this thing. You made a promise. Al-mu'minuna ala shurutihim. The believers are of their conditions.
It reminds me of the Somali proverb where they say you call in a woman with a lie and then show your true colors afterwards.
Yeah, bad Somali saying. So you deceive her before you get married to her.
Exactly.
And once you get married, you tell her the truth. And they think this sustains a marriage. It doesn't. It doesn't sustain the marriage. You built your marriage again on deception. And you're destroying this person now. You're lying to them and you're deceiving them. Again, would you like that for your daughter? He wouldn't.
Jazakumullah khairan, Sheikh.
Jazakumullah khairan. Zakaria, Allah bless you for having me. And Allah preserve you and honor you. Jazakumullah khairan.
It was an honor to have you for this discussion, and inshallah we'll be able to benefit from it, and inshallah perhaps we can have more sittings inshallah.
Barakallah feek. Jazakallah khair. Jazakumullah khairan.
سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.